All right, guys. Good afternoon. Um, Hope you're doing well. It's been a while met you guys, so um, pretty sure you might have read the message on WhatsApp about us going to India. We had to Russia uh, on January 31st, actually, and reached there on 2nd, and then my mother-in-law passed away on 7th. She was it was pretty bad. Um, we just came back a couple of days and uh, trying to get back. I didn't want to miss today's class for sure. So um, thanks to my instructors, they're pretty well caught up. That we don't feel we are behind. Um, es- Especially math, we are ahead a little bit, which is surprising for me. Science, we are a little behind. So I know we're gonna pivot to science pretty soon. Um, English, you guys had third session today with Rikav, and Lily has been doing quite a bit of reading stuff as well. So what I'm gonna do right now is to go through the roster quick. It's been a while. So Geneva,
Here.
Elliot,
Here.
Sophie,
Here.
Aiden,
Here.
Yvonne,
Here.
Jack, Sia,
Here.
Easton, Reed,
Here.
Madeline, Kiera,
Here.
Krish, Addie, Dara, Shelby.
Here.
Okay. The first question I wanted to ask you guys, let's do the face-to-face students. If you have done with all the homework, raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maddie, how much are you left with?
I just couldn't do this week's practice test,
Okay.
but I have everything else done.
Make sure to get caught up, okay? Same question for online students. Do a thumbs up if you're done with all the homework. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, all of you. Okay. Students who are gonna watch this video, same questions. Make sure you guys do the homework. Second thing is, April 6th is the ACT review. Students taking the ACT in April or in June should be taking that ACT review. So talk to your parents, remind them if they have not registered you to register you, okay? Especially if you're a senior, junior, or to some degree a 10th grader, you'll be taking that one, so, okay? So I'll be reminding them on the WhatsApp as well pretty soon, okay? The next thing I wanted to ask you guys is there anything you want to ask me in general about ACT or anything like that? Today, I usually give a chance once, once usually 6, 7 sessions are done, we talk about any questions you might have about ACT or in general. Today will be a good day to ask. Yes.
So, like, how with reading, how we're supposed to read the articles like really fast? Like, sometimes I struggle with like retaining the information because then I'm wasting time going back. And so, like, is there any way that?
Okay, so there are two completely opposite strategies I'm going to talk to you about, okay? One is what you just talked about. You read the passage and then go to the 10 questions, right? So I have never done that, okay? My question to people is, when you read the passage and you go to the question, do you remember where the answer is going to be? No, you won't, because there's so many lines. So what I always did was I read the question, and they usually give an indication where it is. So I remember in ACT reading, it says in line 101, what does this word mean? So I know exactly where the 101 is, and I'll go and find it out. Of course, I'm going to read a little bit more at the top, a little bit at the bottom to get the whole idea. It's just like science, right? Of course, I've not spent time with you guys on science. We don't read passage in science. We directly go to the question, and then find an answer in the passage to connect it. It says in the science, for example, it says in experiment 2, what is this student trying to tell you? So I just need to focus on student 2's experiment in passage 2, than to worry about what happened before. So, but one thing for sure, you need to be consistent with your methodology. Either you do this one or this one, not to combine both. Worst thing that can happen to you is you wanna cocktail it by method 1 and method 2 and say, hey, one question I'm gonna do this, one question I'm gonna do this. That's not gonna work. The next thing I always wanna tell you this. This is a pretty interesting exercise I have done. There are 2 ways you can practice ACT reading. One, which is the most recommended one, is to take the full practice test, right? English, math, break, reading, science, like the real practice, okay? If you do 4 to 5 of them, then you start getting an idea how the reading is gonna feel. Same with science. English and math is never a problem, okay? Because it's the later part you start feeling tired and all those things. And then if you want to just practice reading or just practice science, you want to do it in different scenarios. So for example, pick a time when you don't want to do any sort of testing. Like say you come back from school at home. Do you really want to do a practice test at that time? No, you don't. You're already tired, right? That's the best time to take a practice test and see, are you able to focus enough when you're completely tired? And then take a different test when you're relaxed and see how much the point difference is going to be. But you got to put yourself in that different scenarios. Next strategy: do you read the passage? Do you scan the passage? Is another thing. I always believe reading will take a lot of time. So that's why I always feel going to the question and scanning as required is better. There are some passages, however, you have to read the whole thing, which is at least 1 out of the 4 will happen that way, especially the passage number 1, that's the prose fiction, where you'll have to read a little bit more than the others. But let me ask you this question. Are you a reader in general?
Yeah.
Okay. Usually people who read a lot tend to do well. So it's like reading is like what I call is a smelling thing. I cannot teach people how to smell. Either you smell, you don't smell. No, it's tough to teach. It's same with reading. It's hard to teach. There are strategies, but definitely if you're a good reader, if you've been reading for a long time, I can tell you, students taking ACT in India tend to do horrible in reading because it's not a thing we do. I don't think so in the first 10 years of my school where I even read 1 novel. I did a lot of physics and chemistry and biology and math, but not a raw novel like sitting on the beach and read. That's never you'll see that because that's the culture. But here I've seen people read a lot on the flights, on the beach. So those tend to have so the recommended days to say if you're starting first grade, you want to read at least 33 minutes per day. It's a recommended minimum 33 minutes per day. And it should add 10 minutes till 7th grade, every grade. So, did I?
Yeah.
Okay. Practice is there's no solution than the practice. Yeah. Same with science, honestly.
So you're saying if we just read books in general more, we would do better?
Yep. Especially tough novels, newspapers, really help. Don't read things you always like Harry Potter. That's not going to help you all. Yeah. Don't read easy. No, it's not a bad one to read. It's especially for passage 1 that will help. But you want to read variety of things, different things. That really I've seen people who read a lot. I had a student was not a great student by any means. English, she scored I believe 22. Math, she scored a 18, but reading she got a 35. Science, she got a 21. Why? Because she read all the time. It was insane how much she was reading. Even during the break time, she would open and read it. I say, why don't you do the same thing for math? Because you have to improve on your weakness. She's like, no, I hate math. I love reading. So That's what it is. It's a habit for me. Okay. Good question though. I get asked this question a lot. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm generally really good at math,
Mhm.
but on the ACT, I get confused by a lot of the questions, and math is like my weakest one right now because I just don't understand sometimes what they're trying to ask.
So let me ask the first question you said. You said you're good in math, right?
Yeah.
How did you decide that? What are the factors that make you think that, okay, you're good in math? School grades?
And I notice a lot of other people struggle with stuff that
Okay.
I don't struggle with.
So one of the things you have to remember, a school grade in math does not relate to ACT math, first of all.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you go to which school? West or East?
West.
West. So imagine in school what happens. Which math are you in right now?
I'm not in any right now.
Okay, what was your last math one?
I was in algebra and geometry.
Okay, so let's say you're algebra 2, right? So let's say you're learning quadratic equations. What's the test is going to be on quadratic equations? So you're taught a sample A, B, C, D, E, and the test is going to be one of those type of questions.
Yeah.
So you spit it out in the test, okay, and you get a good grade, and there's a false sense of happiness that, oh my God, I got 100%. And then you get to the semester exam, they give you a study guide.
Yeah.
And study guide and the semester exams are pretty much replica, right?
Right.
Here and there. So nowhere there is no critical thinking aspect of it. You've been spitting out on the test. So it's asking you to, okay, I'm gonna ask you, throw a marker at the whiteboard, and you'll throw it. And you'll never be asked, why am I doing this? You told me I'm gonna do it. So critical thinking has failed. And we go to ACT Math, where it's a combination of concepts called MCQs, multi-concept questions, from 7th grade to 8th grade and 9th grade combined together, and which you're not used to. So school grade sometimes, and not sometimes, I should have many a times, is a false sense of security for students, especially for math. What I always tell you is this is the best way to know your test school preparation. Let's say you're supposed to be tested on quadratics, okay? Let's say it's your Algebra 2 book, okay? Go to an Algebra 2 book chapter on quadratics, open that page, backside, right? There will be questions, right? Look at the word problems. Do all those things, and I can guarantee that will tell you how much you know in math. Not the study guide, because they're gonna give you the same damn problem and factorization or quadratic formula, whatever it is. Yeah, anybody can do it. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can do that. Where is the critical thinking? When you do the word problems, which have not been taught, a 5-word problems in every chapter will put you at 80% ahead of the rest of the population in math. Just 5. That's the difference. I can guarantee right now, if I pick that group and advanced and regular, and I pick 5, that's why I always tell people, when people say, oh, I got an A+ in Algebra 2, it just absolutely shocks me. Because in India, when we took Algebra 2, and we were very good in math, and nobody got even close to A+. Like, forget about A+. We used to get 60s and 70s. Why? Our test was so freaking hard. Algebra 2 is one of the hardest math ever. Because if you know Algebra 2 well, you don't have to worry about anything else. Everything else is just an extrapolation. It's easy. Calc is easy if you know Algebra 2. But people don't know Algebra 2. They think they know it because you've been spitting out on the test. I can tell you, Algebra 2 is so hard. So hard. When I taught Algebra 2, I only taught Algebra 2 once as a group class. And in New Horizon, I taught, we had really good 8 students who parents got together and it's like, hey, Manoj, don't care about the grades. We want you to teach them like how you were taught in India, like the real tough Algebra 2. And we want you to test them and everything. It was a whole 1 year. So they were at school, and I was teaching Algebra 2 as well. and nobody used to get 40s or 50s. Nobody. And they were like 30 plus ACT students. And they're like, I can't even understand this. I said, yeah. And at school, they were like 110, 3,000% points. So that's the difference. Algebra 2 is the most scariest course here for me. And it's not how it's supposed to be. Yeah, it'll give you a false sense of happiness. My son is in Algebra 2 right now, and I don't even spend time with him because it bothers me. The minute I see him, what he's doing, it's like he's graphing and graphing and graphing. Okay, I said, why the hell are you graphing? What's the point of it? You do 30 problems of the same time, of the same type, but there's no critical thinking. But when I gave him a story problem, he's like, I didn't study this. I said, yeah, you did. You just don't know how to connect it. So, a piece of advice: if you want to be successful in Algebra 2, open the back side of the chapter and do the word problems. 5-word problems, genuine 5-word problems, will put you 80% ahead of the rest of the population. And you'll be surprised how hard it'll be. Now I've seen. So when I taught Algebra 2 here, as I was talking about, we did like the quadratic formula and stuff like that. But boom, the pivot to problems. We did 1 problem a day. That's all. That's all we spent the time on. Because I wanted everybody to think. If you learn how to think, Algebra 2 becomes easy. And Algebra 2, as I said, is connected directly to physics. So people who say, I hate physics, because they didn't learn Algebra 2. So people who are really good in Algebra 2, who can do critical thinking problems, are excellent in physics. So you can always ask them, there is a connection. Chemistry is a little different, but physics and Algebra 2 are like this, like a perfect marriage. Good question. Anything else? So let's shift to how are our instructors doing. Let's start with Rikav. We just had Rikav. How is he doing? Is it boring?
His notes are really understandable.
Yeah.
I feel like he's the best English teacher I've ever had.
And you're not the first. I've heard this, by the way.
Yeah, I like his teachings.
I haven't ever understood grammar, and I already have been using it on my papers because I just remember it because it's easy.
I'm gonna ask you a favor. You guys should post this on the WhatsApp and say, "Hey, Rikav, thanks for it. You're the best English teacher I have." We are also human beings, right? We don't get, people like us usually, but they don't tell us. And it's like, okay, there's no harm in telling us. Like, it's like if we buy a product on Amazon, right? There is 2 types of people giving feedback: the one who's really happy, the one who's really hating it. So, it'll be nice for him to know, and I'm going to tell him that. So, yes, he is excellent. He teaches my son as well, and he's in Omaha, right? He's in Creighton right now. We pay a lot of money for him to drive here, his gas and time to come and teach here, because I know he's good, and I know he's good. I'm glad to hear that. Last time in 2023, at least 8 of his students got a perfect 36. Our highest is in 2020. We had 8, he was not teaching at the time, but we had 18 students get a perfect 36. So our students have done extremely well in English, because all these things he's going through, it's all planned. There's a lot of things that happens in the background which you guys won't see. So it's all structured. So we give our notes, instructors make their own notes, and it's a combination of everything. At the end of the day, the skill of teaching, I can see that with him. I really do, from the day one. So I've been teaching him since 6th grade, by the way. He was my student from 6th grade. So next is Aubrey. She teaches math. How is Aubrey doing?
I like how she shows the shortcuts with it. I think for example one time, it was instead of using the distance formula, she showed us how to turn it into a triangle. And then use the
Pythagorean theorem.
yeah.
Good.
I had her for my geometry class actually because she teaches at West, and
Yep.
I realized a lot of stuff with circles and stuff. I mean, she just makes geometry a lot easier.
Good. And she cares.
Yeah.
And
she
I have
does.
very, very few teachers I've met in my life. In 22 years I've been doing this in higher education. Never seen anybody care about students that much. She actually taught one student without pay for 2 months. She's like, I want that student to pass, so I want to help. I said, they don't have money. They're like, I don't care. You don't have to pay me. So, yeah. Lily, how's Lily doing? Reading, right? It's a tough one to teach. How is she? How is she doing?
I like it.
She's given us a lot of practice tests, but she goes through and she does explain the questions, which I've personally found helpful.
Yeah, and she's really trying her hardest to come up with strategies to teach reading, and she runs things by me and is like, hey, because it's hard to teach, right? It's hard to teach reading, but she has the energy. I see. She's probably, I would say, the top three reading instructors we ever had, because she brings that energy. She's always early here. She's always prepared. I think so. So glad, good to hear that. But if there is any concerns or complaints, I need to know. Okay. How about online students? How are you guys doing with our instructors? Okay. All right. Just if there is anything you need to know, that's all I'm saying. Okay. All right. Now, go and get your blue book, please. Get your calculators. And I would like you guys to open page number 400 and 439. Can you just quickly tell me if Aubrey has covered the Spark test? No, right? I don't think so. No. Here's what's going to happen today. Okay. Today's we're actually in the middle of the semester of this class right now, so we're going to start pivoting on timing quite a bit. Okay. Go and get your calculators. Go and get your calculators. So here's what's going to happen. From today onwards, I'll be telling you how much time you have, okay? And you have to finish those questions. You ready? Okay. You have 6 minutes. For the first 10 questions. Before you start, don't get stuck on one question. Let's say you're running out of time. I would like you to answer every question. Don't leave it blank, okay? Just like a real test. And I'll ask this question. How many did you have to answer blindly? Okay, I'll ask that question. Because in the first 10 questions, you should be averaging between 6 and 7 minutes in the real test. If you cross the first 7, maybe 8, you're never gonna finish the full test. Because the first 10 are the easiest 10. Your time starts now. Page 439, 10 questions. Time's up. Did anybody had to guess on any? One? How many? One. Okay. How about online students? Because it's very important for me to know this. How many you have left with? Okay. So one is okay. Okay. Three is disastrous. I can tell you. So I'm pushing you guys at 6 minutes. Typically, I would have given 7 minutes. That's the difference from today onwards. Okay, this is going to pivot. I'm going to read the answers for the first 10, and then I'm going to ask you this question. Do you want me to do any of the, if you have any questions, ask me so I can do that. B, J, C, J, C, F, E, H, A, G. Did anybody get it all correct? Okay. Any questions you would like me to do?
Can you do number
Bless you. What's that?
Number
10.
10.
Bless you.
Thank you.
That's the one I guessed by.
Okay. So far I have 10.
And 9. I got stuck on that one.
Yeah, I got stuck on that.
9 and 10 so far. Any other questions? Okay. You guys will be doing 11 to 20, and you'll have 8 minutes. 11 to 20. You'll have 8 minutes. Your time starts now. Time's up. How many questions you guys were left with? One. You done?
Yeah.
Okay. How about online students? How many you're left with?
None. No. None.
Okay. One is okay again. Okay, one is okay. So that's something you really want to understand that, because time is everything here. If you had 10 more minutes in ACT math, we'd never have to worry about time. Okay. All right, let's go to question number 9 and 10 that I was asked. So, when the best simple math hint I will ever tell you, this is some my teacher told me in 3rd grade. I'm going to pass it to you today. Write as you read. So, in a lab experiment, bacteria X lives 5 hours longer than bacteria Y. So X is living 5 hours more than Y, so 5 plus Y. And bacteria Y lives twice as long as Z, so Y is equal to Z. If N is the lifespan of bacteria Z, that Z is N, so Y becomes 2N, and we plug 2N back into the main equation, it becomes 5 plus 2N. So what students do is they read the whole thing and then try to try to formulate the equation. You have to write the equation as you read. Works probably 99% in math. Again, I don't know who asked, but any questions on that? Okay, all right, move on. You guys need to speak up, okay, if you have any questions. That's all I'm asking. Question number 10 is much more important. Circumference is 40, and they have cut that circumference to different arcs. So there's 2 types of arcs. One arc has length of 4, one has a length of S, and each one are 8 of them. So 8 times 4 is 32, and there's 8 of the S, 8S, and both added together gets the whole circumference of 40. So if you solve the math equation, S becomes 1. So each S arc is 1 inch or whatever the unit is. But the question they're asking is how many degrees it is that each S corresponds to. You know that circumference is 360 degrees, am I right? So 40 inches or whatever you want to call, 40 units is 360 degrees. How much each unit is going to be? 9 degrees. Set up a proportion. This is the simplest way to solve the problem. And I would be, if you see my test paper, that you will see me write all these things. May not be circumference 40, but the rest of the step I would write. If you don't write, if you're trying to skip steps, you're going to make mistakes. And I would like actually all of you to do question number 10 in your again one more time. Please do that. 10 is important. Read the question first and do the problem. And luckily for you guys, they actually gave a drawing of it, so it made it easy to visualize it. Any questions? I'm going to read 11 to 20 answers. Is ready? 11 to 20. CFD, JBF, CJA, and G. Did anybody get all correct? Okay. Any questions you might need help with? Yeah.
My question is with 19, you said it was A, correct? But
Let me see. 19, the answer is A.
so my question is if, oh, never mind, I see it. There was a minus sign for it.
Okay.
Just on my calculator, I have a question. How do you change, like if it gives you a decimal, like how just like by clicking like a button, can you switch it to a fraction?
Fraction.
And
Math, 1, enter. Math 1, enter. You can convert a decimal into a fraction. And if it does not convert, that means it's an irrational number. So it doesn't convert an irrational. It only converts a rational into a fraction.
I don't see a math in.
MATH at the top left. The math subject, math key.
Oh, it's just a regular button. Oh.
Yep.
Oh. Okay.
And that's a very helpful thing in ACT. All the advanced students have to do everything in fractions. That's how we are training them.
Okay.
Again,
that makes
that's why
sense.
you have to ask questions. When you ask, everybody else will get help as well. Maybe somebody did not know, and so that's why I always tell people, ask. If we don't know, we'll find an answer for you. So here's my plan. So I want to finish this test, and then pivot to science, or maybe next time I want to kind of split it, but definitely want to be focusing on science as well, about strategies. And what you asked me today about the reading, I would like you to ask the same question to Lily and see her perspective as well. Okay, and say, hey, Manoj wants us to discuss this. All right? I'll see you guys next week. Thanks again. Nice seeing you. Bye-bye.